Sajal Kapoor as well joins in on the show right now. Sajal, hi, good afternoon. The messaging from the markets, and not just us, but across the globe, seems pretty clear. Buy any sort of aberration, any shakeout, any dip in the market.
Hi, Aisha. Yeah, thanks for having me on Ichi Now. First time appearance on any major national business news channel. So yeah, really excited about that. But yeah, it's definitely a lot happening in the markets. Of course, my interest is limited to certain pockets like consumers and healthcare space. Large transformational changes are happening in the healthcare, from diagnostics to prognostics to treatment. And I try and hunt for, misunderstood or under-researched opportunities within that space. And I think there are exciting times ahead of us. We've just started. If I could use an analogy, I think we are in the first over. A couple of boundaries have been scored. Crowd is excited, and it's a long runway ahead of us.
So since you talk about the consumer space, Sajal, I just wanted to understand how is it that you're approaching the entire space? Because a large part of the investment thesis when it comes to staples or FMCG has really been about the valuations that these names are sitting at. That said, you've also got a commodity price hike, which is really eating up into, everyone's, the consumer purses, that is. And that's going to play some role, I guess, in the volumes as well, which come by, not just because of the price hikes that people are going to undertake, because you're already paying such high prices for fuel. So where is it that you're going to cut short? You're going to buy smaller packages of the same consumer products, or, move down the value chain, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, in a very short term, extreme short term, if you take a 1 quarter, 2 quarter view, perhaps, yes, there is a bit of disruption, maybe a margin pressure, so to speak. But I think these businesses are defined, they have been defined over decades, right? So they're high ROC businesses. You look at the balance sheet, you pick any business in the FMCG space, right, from Unilever to something as small as maybe Bajaj Consumer, you find that the balance sheets have been well protected. They have been sacrosanct, and they generate a lot of free cash. So I think those are the attributes that work very well for these businesses over the longer term. Near-term disruption, it hasn't happened for the first time. So the oil prices, I remember in 2018, towards the back end, Pidilite to Asian Paints, they all were crashing because oil was over 100 or somewhere in that region. So these disruptions, they keep happening. But I think we have to look at the larger trend. Majority of rural India, I think, is not very well penetrated. Yes, so soaps and matchboxes, I think those type of FMCG items are well penetrated. But if you look at the value-added stuff, right? So as the electricity goes into these villages and heartlands, I mean, I think there is a runway. Yes, valuations is something you have to be cognizant about. So I don't know whether Tata Consumer would continue to report the spectacular run that we have seen from late 2016. But I tend to look for opportunities which are sort of under-researched, and there is some sort of hidden unseen value, as I call. And then I position myself. But I think outside consumers, there is a lot of opportunities in healthcare, for instance. And I think healthcare also is a very sticky consumption. It's a mandatory consumption. So you have to have that consumption in a growing economy. Whether you look at emerging markets, the healthcare spend that India has is very minuscule compared to the GDP. So that number will go up. So I'm very positive.
To stretch that point further, since you're talking a little bit about healthcare, there's also that conundrum with respect to the stretched or expensive valuations within this space. How do you advise one really approaches it? And since you're sensing opportunity there, where is it exactly that you are finding strong ideas or areas that look investable?
So I think valuation is a function of how long the runway is and where are we in that runway. So as I said, we have just barely scratched the surface. I see opportunities. So I invest globally. I see opportunities in genomic diagnostics. I see opportunities in cutting edge science, cell and gene therapies, and so on. Immuno-oncology is another area. So the option is I can either directly participate in those opportunities, like I could directly buy a CRISPR Therapeutics or a Verasite for that matter, not a recommendation. But all I can just hedge my risk, and I can partner with a CDMO who is in turn providing the services and putting. So these CDMOs are putting the innovator science to work, and if that business is high quality in terms of cash flows and balance sheet, and the management is A grade, I can then maximize my gains and minimize my risk at an aggregate level. So those are the opportunities. I think there's a lot of innovation happening. Oral peptide is one area where we have barely scratched the surface. So semaglutide was recently approved as an example. And as the diagnostics improve, we will find newer sources of treatments, and the companies, the innovators, they either haven't got the capability or they haven't got the capacity to sort of scale up and deal with these new technologies. So some of these niche CDMOs are very, very well positioned to sort of ride a very long, I see a 10, 15, 20 year sort of runway. I'm not talking about 1 quarter or 2 quarter. The valuations will go up and down meanwhile. But if you look at the larger trend, even within APIs for that matter, we've got 180 billion global market in APIs. It's growing about 7% CAGR. So if you think 9 to 10 billion of incremental API demand is coming into the markets. And if you look at the therapeutics like CNS, respiratory, CVS, oncology, all of these will gain massive traction. And some of the players in India I like, and I've been tweeting, I've been sharing my thesis in various webinars. I'm very positive, and I don't find valuations as expensive, but that's my take.
Fair enough. But what's the view, Sajal? If you've had a look as to what's happening with the primary markets as well, there have been lots of interesting opportunities emerging, be it from the consumption space, telcos, or even looking at the overall infrastructure opportunity. What is it that you would perhaps keep as that checklist, or some important pointers that you believe people should look at before investing in initial public offerings?
It's difficult to assess the track record of the management in IPOs, and I started IPO investing in mid-90s, and I almost lost all of them. I barely got my hands on to a couple of good IPOs, like HDFC Bank, I remember, was one. Balaji Mines was one in 94, 95, I think. But by and large, I've lost money. So I've learned my lesson. I try and avoid that space, to be honest with you. But I tracked the IPOs. So Aztec Life Sciences, as an example, got listed at 80, 90 bucks in 2009, I think. I entered it in 2012 and 13. It was a busted IPO. So, but again, you would miss opportunities like a DMart, for example. That was a great IPO. I missed that because I avoid them, but I tracked them after their listing. So Laurus Labs is an example. I entered Laurus Labs, 2-3 years after it got listed, but I was tracking the business. So my advice to young investors would be don't jump into those valuations, because if someone is offloading that equity, they will make sure that the ROE and ROCs are at the peak level, because otherwise, why would you come to the equity market? So there will be a bit of window dressing, so to speak. But some businesses, may be great bargains, like we saw in the case of Laurus Labs few years back, or DMart for that matter. So continue to track them, and only when the valuations are favorable and they fit your framework, you should go ahead and invest. But you should never follow the herd mentality that playing for a pop or that kind of thing. Yes, of course, if IPO is a good credible IPO, Burger King as an example, you may get a listing pop, but you should not be investing with that sort of a mindset. Investing is a long haul game. You have to be mentally prepared to hold that asset for 10-15 years, and you could only do that when you understand the nitty-gritty of that business from an entire value chain perspective, the economics of it, the management side of things, and then you should just go in there rather than taking a short-term punt. Again, with those stop losses and and these trading momentum, you can there is always that temptation. But I tend to avoid those type of temptations, and I'm a buy right, sit tight type of investor.
Okay, that's some interesting advice, and you're pretty frank about how you've really dabbled with some of those IPOs. Sajal, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for sharing with us your outlook on the markets.
Thanks for having me.
The individual sectors. Let's take a very short break right here on the show. Stay with us for more.